welcome to the Urban Voice. I'm here with Omar Barbour, uh, one of the staff members here at the Urban League of Hudson County. And we're in there because he's donated a fashion of books that, um, as you can see, there's just a few of them to the literacy program that the Urban League is kicking off. And this is just a few of the books that, many books that he's donated. And one of the questions I have for you, Mr. Barbour, is what made you donate these books to the Urban League and their literacy program?
Well, it's a great program for one. Um, but philosophically, reading is fundamental. And if you give a book, I think you save a mind. Mind is a terrible thing to waste. And in the era where you have digital technology, a lot of kids, and they're not touching books anymore. And I think that when you actually have a book, it means you have to read it, because if you don't put yourself in the book, you can't read it.
Right.
And I think the book with words and illustration give you a sense of reality that you may not get from even if you listen to it as a audio.
Right.
This critical presence of having a book in hand to do that. And this is a extensive collection that my wife and I collected over the years from being in teaching and been involved with the community. She would buy kids books if they didn't have them for their classroom, or if they showed interest in a particular subject, or if they had a particular inkling or something, where they said they want to be a fireman, she would go out and find a fireman book. They want to be a cop, they want a cop's book.
Right.
They want to be an astronaut, she would find something on astronaut.
Cultivation.
Yeah, cultivation.
Right.
And so this is an extensive collection for over 30 years, collecting books. A lot of these titles you see are children's books.
Right.
So we want to definitely give them out to the children. But you have a lot of biographies too. You have Nelson Mandela, Life and Photographs. Excellent book.
Right.
This tells the story of probably one of the most famous human beings on earth and a real freedom fighter.
Right.
That should be inspiration. I noticed there's a book for the Wright brothers. Everybody knows. Some people may not know that story with the Wright brothers. Essentially, out created aviation. Right. So history is captured in books.
Right.
I think that when you kids read books, it means they got to do critical thinking to understand it. They got to learn, master your learning to learn, vocabulary. So I think it's a lot of things that go in books, especially now where you have a revisionist of history.
Right.
And I think the books will kind of help combat that. Anytime you have a situation where they're banning books from libraries, public library and schools and places like that, not a good thing.
Right.
So we're trying to do our best to push back. So we thought that rather than give them to just anybody, why not give them to Urban Hudson County, which is celebrating like its 52nd year, I think, or 53rd year in Hudson County.
Right.
Continuous year we just that. So it's a great contribution. And the repository here, and then they can distribute to the kids in the literacy program. So I'm very feel good about this.
As far as the impact, we spoke about reading is fundamental and how it has my generation, that was a mantra that we used. Reading is fundamental, or the old slogan for Martin Luther King, mind is a terrible thing to waste. As far as, what are your expectations from an impact standpoint with the donation of these books?
That the children who are getting these books will develop a habit of reading and cultivating that habit. They can still use their electronic gadgets, right? But it's analog, but it's also fundamental. And hopefully, especially young kids who may not, at the point where they may be using their little tablets, their little games and stuff, but not to the point where it's helping them to really read and master language arts. Right. The books should help augment that. Okay. So it's in combination with whatever electronic gadgets they may have, this is to augment that. And I think the titles, they may not see on their electronic gadgets. Right. These titles, Grandpa, is everything black bad? Right. I mean, it just entices me. We want to read that. Right. Why that title? Obviously, this young man is asking his grandfather because somehow he's been taught or he's ran into some situation where black seems to be negative. Right. So he's asking his grandfather. So it probably makes for a great story. Also, seen a book there on Pioneers and Legends. That's a great book. You think now because you have a great deal of Latino ball players,
Professional baseball.
you should see them Orlando Cepeda, right?
Roberto Clemente.
I think those guys are part of the Negro League, they played in the Negro League before they would have it out into Major League Baseball too. Right. That's a historical connection that they may not get anywhere else. So those kind of titles, it's awe-inspiring that the books and the titles, the courage of Helen Keller. I don't know if most kids know the story of Helen Keller. Right. Very fascinating story of overcoming adversity to become somebody and do something for your fellow man or humankind. Right. So I just think books have that ability to inspire, have the ability to raise consciousness, right. To give kids a sense of purpose in life that they need. Right. Against all the negative stuff. Part of the conversation, a lot of it's negative. Right. Hopefully this will help offset some of that. Give the chance of opportunity. That's what's about giving a kid an opportunity. If you inspire them, they can find the opportunity.
Okay. I think books are mind expanding. It allows you to get into a different place reading. So your imagination is cultivated as well. Because you have to fortify the picture from your brain. But the words are illustrated. They tell a story. That's what storytelling is.
That's what storytelling is.
That's what storytelling is. So, I say this, it's rare that you get a donation of this magnitude. 30 years? 30 years.
30 years plus, actually.
Okay, 30 plus years.
It's 40.
Thank you. Almost 40 years of accumulating books of this magnitude tells a real story of who you are. Of your character. If you don't mind, give us a brief background of your culture and your history.
Well, I've been a community activist since I was in my teen.
Teen as far as what age?
Well, I'm now in my 70s. Really? I'm talking about when I was in my 15, 16. Oh, wow. I'm part of the Civil Rights Movement. Okay. And then what morphed into what was known as the Black Liberation Movement. Okay. Which was a time of social consciousness for African Americans in particular, where we got out of the old addicts calling each other the way we named colored, the Negro. We discarded those labels. So we're black people and wanted to identify with Mother Africa. Fashion today is more like African American, which is pretty acceptable. Yeah. But I still refer to African Americans, Caribbean people, and being that's from the African diaspora. Okay. I refer to as part of the African diaspora. So I say black, whatever they may be. Right. And so you have black people who are not African Americans, but they're part of the African diaspora. Right. And again, that's codified in books too. Right. They read books like Kwame Nkrumah, who was the president of Ghana. Right. Helped liberate Ghana. Right. From colonization. Patrice Lumumba. Right. Another one. So I came up in that era where we believed in each one teach one. Okay. Where there was liberation schools. Black Panthers had liberation schools where they'd actually take kids. The pre-Buffers program is known more about what the Black Panthers did, but they really had the liberation schools where you would actually help the kids with their homework, teach them their own history, teach them about international affairs and stuff like that. So I was part of all that. So you're getting to the point where you realize if you're gonna make change, make social change, pretty much how you have to do that is to give back to society. So I think giving back is part of it. I call it reciprocity. You have to reciprocate. Right. And that's what people do to survive. Each one teaches one, each one helps one. It's actually a social philosophy of each according to his ability, to each according to his need. And that's a governing philosophy I've always had. Okay. And in a sort of communities where you have a lot of discordance, a lot of disconnects, dysfunctionality, we need to bring that kind of thinking into practice to do that. So giving these voices to say, hey, young people, use this wisely, use it constructively. I tell young mothers, young fathers, read to your children. Right. Soon as they're out of the cradle, start reading to them. They may not understand what happened. That brain is working. Right. And by introducing them to it at an early age, they will cultivate a habit of doing that. So they'll grow up wanting to read, wanting to absorb stuff like that. Okay. society, of a collective organization, collective community, because a sense of community is what it's all about. And I think that's needed more now than at any other time in our history.
Okay. Well, it seems like you have, actually, you have a background that speaks volumes from an educational standpoint and things of that nature. And you have a strong idealism on giving back to the community. And the donation of these books is going to be put to good use by the Urban League. Literacy program is something that I think is well needed in a lot of different areas. I'm happy to say that we appreciate you thinking of the Urban League in that capacity. You don't see this often.
Right.
And I think we need to get back to that concept of reciprocity. There you go, reciprocity. So, I would close this by saying that, you are pretty much an anomaly in our community. We don't have too many people like you that see things from this vantage point of giving back in this capacity. It's not just like monetary with money or, this is what you call an in-kind donation, but it's something that can continue throughout generations and pass down in life. So thank you. We appreciate you. And if you have any more books, if you know anyone who wants to donate some books, going forward, we would greatly appreciate the donation.
And this will inspire others to do the same.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so, because it's rare. It's rare. Like you said, we live in a digital world, so when you touch it, people have the tendency of touch, taste, smell, feel. You can't get that from a phone or a tablet.
Right.
It's nothing like the smell of a book or the feel of the pages turning, the hearing of the pages turning. So it is at your own pace as well. So I like that. So we thank you and we appreciate you. And